Yes. So, my people, my beautiful people, let me make sure that my speaker is working right. I am back again, and I'm black again. I'm just making fun. Anyway, man, I got something for you guys, man. I've been going through the series of this brother called Lloyd Dijon, if I'm pronouncing his name right, and he have this series where he have done on Islamic moonotheism, meaning that Islam derive a lot of their teaching from moon worship, and it's very interesting series. I've done part one about 2 Sundays ago, and this is going to be part two. So, Daniel, thank you for being here, and thank you everyone who is going to watch this. God bless you all, and I want to say all praises to the triune God, the God who is above all gods, the God who gives us wisdom to decipher things and to make sense of sensible things and to make nonsense of things that are nonsense. And as far as I'm concerned, Islam is nothing but pure nonsense. And you will see that this brother is a very well researched to do this kind of work that this brother does. And I will put the link to his channel in the so that you guys could subscribe to his channel if you haven't already done so. I'll put the link to his channel in the chat so that you guys could go and subscribe to this brother's channel, because to me, I like this kind of research. This is really, you could see that a lot of time have been put into this kind of research, and I give him all the props for doing this, and I'm supporting his channel in the sense of doing this. So you will see the link. So I've put the link here, and the link is in the chat for you guys to check out the channel and subscribe to the channel. The name of the channel is Hello, my brother. How are you? Hello, everyone. God bless you, my brother. God bless you, my sisters. God bless everyone. And this is the link to the channel. It's in the chat, and you guys could go and subscribe to the brother's channel because he's doing a lot of work. So next Sunday, I will also be featuring another thing from his channel, which have to do with the Sharia law. So thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate you guys coming out to listen to this Jamaican and to listen to my brother Lloyd. So here we go. So this is the second part. The first part was given about 2 Sundays ago. So here we go.
A discussion on moon worship in Islam. In the first episode, I discussed how Islam is derived very much from Sabaean moon worship. The Sabaeans were a pagan tribe living in Yemen. This tribe invaded Eastern Africa, Northeastern Africa, Ethiopia, and they converted the Ethiopians at that time to their paganism, and then eventually the Ethiopians became Christians, and the Ethiopians then invaded Yemen and southern Arabia and brought Christianity with them. So let me continue here with the Aksumite kingdom, which at the time was the fourth most powerful kingdom in the world, and one that you've never heard of. Now, the Aksumite ruler was called the Negusa Nagast, the King of Kings. King Ezana ruled from 320 to 360 AD, and he converted to Christianity as verified by these Aksumite coins. Ezana originally had coins with pagan disc and crescent. Of course, this symbol should be familiar to you as the Islamic symbol. His later coins have crosses on them. As we can see here, There are numerous examples of the coins with the crescent and disc. And here we have examples of, after his Christian conversion, he now has coins.
If you notice, he mentioned the crescent and disc. This is what we could see right here. If you notice, the Islamic sign is a crescent. You will see with a crescent with like a star on the inside. And we know that this is associated with paganism, the Islamic sign. So if I could let him speak, and then I find you one of those signs, I will show you what we're talking about.
With crosses on them, as you can see here. Right, so his coins now have crosses on them. Ethiopia, very likely the very first Christian state. It became the first sub-Saharan African state to embrace Christianity. And he proclaimed Christianity as the state religion in the early 4th century. Now, what is really interesting, if we go to, let's go to Google Maps. I want to bring your attention to Jubail here on the east of Saudi Arabia. And I also want to bring your attention to this area in Jordan, in the Hara Desert. The very earliest Christian inscriptions in this region are from the 4th century. And in fact, here an inscription is found by very early Christians, and they call Jesus Isa, which is the same name that Jesus is given in the Quran. So this is a very, very unusual archaeological find. Go and check my previous upload on the channel a week or two ago, where I discussed the earliest inscription of the name of Jesus. And this is the Hara Desert in Jordan. So, and that's a 4th century inscription by these converted Arabs. Then we've got Jubail in the 4th century has the following. A 4th century Assyrian church discovered in Saudi Arabia. So somewhere in the 1980s, I believe, a group of people attempting to dig their vehicle out of the sand uncovered this church. And this is a very, very early church with numerous cross inscriptions. It has been vandalized by some of the local Arabs since it was discovered, and a fence has been put up around it to try and protect it. However, this is very, very distinctly a Christian church. So we do know from this evidence that Christianity was present within the region and established within the region very early on. So roughly about the same time that Christianity was present in Egypt, it was also present in this part of Africa. And as we will discover, these Africans here controlled significant portions of Arabia and had influence all the way to India, Rome, Greece. So they had significant trade networks, and they influenced large parts of Arabia. Let me continue. For a century prior, Roman traders had brought knowledge of the Christian religion to the Aksumite mercantile network. As we will show, and as we have shown, religion and ideas were spread via these mercantile networks. This was how people traveled. Ideas were spread through them. New ideas were collected as they traveled to different regions, brought those ideas back. Those ideas were fashionable at the time, and they became part of the culture where they were brought to, and they influenced those cultures. Now, King Azana proclaimed Christianity as the state religion in the early 4th century. This is about probably around the 320s. So in the 6th century, the Aksumite king Caleb sent a force across the Red Sea to subdue the Yemenites, dominating Saudi Arabia or southern Arabia for 70 years. The Byzantine emperor supported Aksum largely due to Yemen's persecution of Christians. These Christians were present in Najran. This was a center of pilgrimage for Christians. Notice it is very close to the centers of Sabaean moon worship, the worship of the god called Makkah or Al-Makkah. Right here. This was a major center. Hiran, Al-Mahabisha, is where later we will show this is the original location on the map that Muslims claim is the earliest location of Mecca. But instead of being up here, it is 720 kilometers to the south in a place called Al-Mahabisha, and the god Makkah is also known as Al-Makkah of Hiran. We'll get into the map in a bit. Right. Now, the first church in sub-Saharan Africa, I've covered that in the previous episode, so have a look at that. This article is taken from the Smithsonian, And oddly enough, this one also dates to the early 4th century. So now we have two Christian churches in southern Africa and in Arabia established in the early part of the 4th century. Now, interestingly, the very first hijrah or migration in Islam is to Abyssinia, what we call Ethiopia today. So Muslims found refuge in Christian Aksum, this is Ethiopia and Eritrea, in 614 AD. When the apostle saw the affliction of his companions, and that though he escaped it because of his standing with Allah and his uncle Abu Talib, he could not protect his apostles. So he said, go to Abyssinia. It is better for you. The king will not tolerate injustice. It is a friendly country. Some very interesting statements there with implications. His companions went to Abyssinia, and this was the first hijrah in Islam. And this is from Ibn Ishaq, page 146. Now, the hijrah is where Muhammad's followers, the Sahaba, fled the persecution of the ruling Quraysh tribe. And the Aksumite king who received them is known in Islamic sources as the Negus and Agast we mentioned earlier, and Ashama bin Abjar. Some of the exiles returned to Mecca and made the 622 hijrah to Medina with Muhammad. Others remained in Abyssinia until they came to Medina in 628. So they remained there for 14 or 15 years. So they stayed there a long time. They were influenced by these Christians in Ethiopia. They would have taken some of those ideas with them. So the hijrah in Islam, this very first hijrah, has a little bit of a propaganda story attached to it. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can pause here, read this for yourself, or look this up. But notice the Christian king asked if they had with them anything which came from God. Now, of course, when they say God, they mean Allah. They don't mean the Christian God, Jehovah, whom they reject. When Jafar confirmed, the king commanded him to read it. Jafar then recited a passage from the Quran, Surah Maryam, literally the chapter of Mary. When the king heard it, this is the Christian king, he wept and exclaimed, truly, this and what Jesus brought has come from the same source of light. So this and what Jesus brought, the gospel, notice Jesus is the good news. Jesus did not bring a book called the good news. This is where Islam is making these very subtle corruptions of the Christian message. So Jesus did not bring a book. Jesus was not a librarian. Jesus did not, as he was ascending into heaven, pass out copies of 11 books to the remaining disciples. So the same source of light, interestingly. So they're trying to, of course, make this association, or force this association between Jesus, the gospel, and the Quran. And we know that these are diametrically opposed. Jafar, he replied that they held Jesus to be Allah's servant, his prophet, his spirit, and his word which he cast upon the Virgin Mary. Of course, if you read through the Islamic polemics, if you look at my story on Ibn Qayyim, you'll realize just how they vilify the Christian view of Jesus, they vilify the Bible, they vilify Christianity. And in fact, during that discussion, you will see how the reigning apology of the time, at least the reigning polemics of that period, by the major Islamic apologists and Islamic polemicists, were that Christians would urinate on the benches in church. They would defile themselves, they would defile their place of worship, and that these could not be people who were graced by God if they would urinate, because urination brings damnation. It's unclean. So yeah, have a look at my story on Ibn Qayyim, Ibn IBN QAYYAM, to learn more about that. Muslim accounts state that upon hearing these words, the Negus declared that Jesus was indeed no more than what he had said, than what Jafar had said. So they are cleverly making it seem as if they align with the Christian story when they completely reject the Christian view of Jesus. He turned to the Muslim and told him, go, for you are safe in my country. So, Trojan horse. Now, there are some numerous Islamic links to Ethiopia.
Okay, before we get any further, there's a Muslim here. His name is Redwan Abdullah, and he said the Quran rejects all worship of idols. But really, is it true? Let's share something with you, Redwan, because it seems like you don't understand what's going on in your religion. You said the Quran rejects all worship of idol. So let's share something with you to show you that your Quran does not reject any idol at all. Your Quran actually camouflage idols. Let me show you one. So if we look here, we have 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14. And what does it say? And no wonder, for Satan himself is masquerade as an angel of light. You notice what it says here? Satan is masquerade as an angel of light. When Muhammad ran from the cave, Ira, he literally, according to Islamic literature, he literally believed that he was possessed. Ibn Ishaq, Surat Rasul, The Life of the Prophet, page 106. I thought, woe is me, poet are possessed. So Muhammad thought that he was possessed. And not only that, if we look at, even if we look at the hadith, Muhammad was still telling people that he have a Satan with him that was commanding him, a devil with him that was commanding him. So if we look at this, he says, what we see here, this is Sahih Muslim 28:14a. Abdullah B. Masood report that Allah's messenger said, there is none amongst you with whom is not attached from amongst the jinn, devil. So you see it here, devil. And they, the companion, said, Allah's messenger, with you too? Thereupon he said, yes, but Allah helped me against him, so I am safe from his hand, and he does not command me but for good. So there was a devil commanding Muhammad for good. Logically, and from previous scripture, we know no devil command people for good. So you could see the subliminal messages of Muhammad. So you ask the question about, does the Quran tell you to worship idol, the moon and stuff like that? You literally says, does the Quran? So let me show you more of what he says. He says, can you give us a Quran reference for the condemnation of worshiping the moon and the sun, the star? So giving a Quran reference for condemnation of worshiping the moon and the sun of the star does not mean that the Quran, Islam is not originated from worshiping the moon and the star, because as the Bible says, Satan is transformed into an angel of light. So if he's transformed into an angel of light, he's not going to come and tell you, worship the moon and the stars and the sun and all that stuff. What he's going to do, he's going to come in a more cunning way and have moon worship in a religion, hidden in a religion. And that's what we found is the brother is revealing, that moon worship is hidden in Islam. And not only that, let me show you again from the hadith itself. Let me show you something. There's a lot of paganism in your religion. Look at this. Do you see what this hadith says here? We used to worship stones. So look what the hadith says right here. We used to worship stones. And look how the amount of things that these people would go through just to worship stone. Look what happened. But if we could not get a stone, then we would collect some earth, soil, and bring a sheep and milk that sheep over it and perform tawaf around it. And do we see you guys still continue the tawaf around a stone and kissing a stone and all the stuff? If we should show you a picture of you Muslims kissing stone, it's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous to see how the things that you guys would go through just to kiss a stone. A matter of fact, I actually have this thing on my Facebook page that shows how much evil it is that almost every year, hundreds of lives are sacrificed to worshiping stones. So actually, let me get there, so I could show you guys this. How many lives are sacrificed in the name of stone worship? In a sense, even though for you guys you don't see it as stone worship, but it's literally stone worship. If you ask a addict, a drugs addict, if he's an addict, most of the time they will tell you no. If you ask a person strung out and pain medication, if they're strung out and pain medication, no, they always want more, telling you no, I'm in pain, and they always want more. But look at this. So let me show you this here. How many lives have been taken in Islam just to parade around this stupid stone and kiss this stone? So let me show you that your question is answered, and we'll get back to the video in a minute. But let me show you. Look at this. Do you see this? In 1990, 1,426 people were killed, trampled upon. In 1994, 270 people were sacrificed to the stone. In 1998, 180 people were sacrificed to the stone. In 2004, 244 people were sacrificed to the stone, trampled on the feet. In 2006, 364 people were sacrificed to the stone. In 2015, 717 people were sacrificed to the stone. And guess what? If you count every year, there is a death at the stone. Every year of this Hajj, there is a death at the stone. And listen what it says, may Allah accept them as martyrs. Do you see this up here? May Allah accept them as martyrs. And what does the Hadith says? We used to worship stones. So do you see that? Not because your Quran is again, I say, oh, this and this. I've revealed to you guys before that I've been called before by a scammer, and the scammer is warning me, telling me he can protect me against scammers, as if I don't know that he is a scammer. This is the same way the Quran is. The Quran is full of evil and wickedness and devil worshiping and stuff, but it will tell you that it can protect you against the devil, and it will talk against the devil. But what devil? Because in Islam there are many devils and many satans, and there is a Satan that was controlling Muhammad and commanding Muhammad, as the Hadith shows that Muhammad say that there was a Satan commanding him in the Hadith. So if that answers your question, and we go back to the video at hand. It's not hard to answer your question, friend. You just got to use your brain. Jesus gave you a brain, so use it. So let's get back to our brother and his message.
For instance, the Christian community in South Arabia at Najran was perhaps the oldest Christian community in Arabia, and his persecution by the Jewish king Jongh. Now, when they say Jewish, this well may be a heretical Jewish sect. It very probably is. I don't think this would be orthodox by any means. So Jongh is mentioned in the Quran, appears to have been a mixed community. There's no doubt that many of them were Nestorian Christians. Well, now when we say Nestorians, are they heretical? Are they considered true Christians of the day? Or, well, those are questions which we will have to deal with later. Well, others clearly were monophysites, more or less related to the monophysite church of Abyssinia. So the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Tewahedo Church, where the word Tawhid comes from, is monophysite. Now, back then, there was a divergence. Today, they are accepted as part of the mainstream Orthodox Christianity. However, there are differences. They have a very strong Jewish leaning within their Christian practice, and numerous of the Islamic practices very likely derive from this particular form of Christian worship. We will get more into that at another time. In international trade, Abyssinia was the destination of one of Qusay's 4 sons, who, according to Ibn Habib, was Abd Shams. Trade relations between Makkah and Ethiopia went back to the late 5th or early 6th century. In fact, it very likely went back much earlier, because don't forget, the Yemenis invaded something like in the 1st millennium BC. So there were connections between that part of the world and Arabia, at least southern Arabia, for 1600 years prior. Now, Mecca was not established until much later, and so trade very likely in that part of the world was much earlier prior to that. Now, the Arabic Injil, the word Injil, resembles the Ethiopian Wanjil, Injil, Wanjil. The word had already been introduced into Arabia by Ethiopian Christians at the beginning of the 6th century. However, we do know already that the Ethiopians had an established Bible, and this we also know because they had established a church in the early 4th century. Christianity was part of Ethiopian practice in the 3rd century already. So Christianity was established in what we call Ethiopia today, and obviously there was some sort of influence within Arabia well prior to the 6th century, so this date is very late. The generally accepted origin is Greek Evangelion, or the good news, entering Arabic via the Ethiopic Wanjil. According to Arthur Jeffrey, the long vowel ending in Wanjil, like the second syllable of Injil, is a close resemblance, closer than the Syriac root, because people think from Greek to Syriac to Arabic, whereas in fact Ethiopic contains all the sounds of Arabic, and the two are far more related as languages. I may have discussed it, but I will probably mention that again because I have brought up information about that, the close connection between Ethiopian and Arabic. Abyssinian, philologically. Ethiopic, the ancient language of Abyssinia, is the most closely related to Arabic of all the Semitic tongues. So this makes a good case for the Evangelion, the good news, entering Arabic via Ethiopic, the Wanjil. So Old Ethiopic is the most closely related to Arabic of all the Semitic languages. Ethiopic and Arabic with the language of South Arabian, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So hopefully that you can see this connection, this very strong connection. There's more to that. Now, let me see. So from the ancient Ge'ez, but it was presumably this ancient language, Ge'ez, which is the language of Ethiopia, with which the Arabs were in contact in pre-Islamic days and during Muhammad's lifetime. These contacts, as a matter of fact, were fairly close. Prior to the birth of Muhammad, the southern portion of Arabia had been under Abyssinian rule. Tradition relates that Muhammad was born in the year of the elephant, when Mecca was saved from the Ethiopian army, which marched up under Abraha to destroy the city. We will certainly get more into Abraha and his story and the history related to him later. It is practically certain that there were trade relations between Abyssinia and Arabia at a much earlier period than the Aksumite occupation of Yemen. And that goes back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries. So this is, again, that 6th century date we just saw, this is much earlier. And that friendly relations continued in spite of the year of the elephant. And this is clear from the fact that Muhammad is said to have sent his persecuted followers to seek refuge in Abyssinia, and that the Meccan merchants employed a body of mercenary Abyssinian troops. So there are connections. Let's have a look at a couple more. Muhammad himself had personal contact with people who spoke whatever that is, okay? And this seems to be indicated from the fact that tradition tells us that Muhammad's first nurse was an Abyssinian woman called Ayman, and that the man he chose as his first mueddin, this one who announces the call to prayer, was Bilal al-Habashi, an Ethiopian. And the tradition already noted that the prophet was particularly skilled in the Ethiopic language. So according to Islamic tradition, the two languages that Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, spoke was...
So hold on a minute there. Do you want to see a joke right here? The brother Lloyd told us that Muhammad was skilled in Ethiopian language. Do you see it right here? The prophet was particular skill in Ethiopic language. And we know that Bilal was Ethiopian. But look at this stupid Quran verse. Time to laugh, people. Look at this look at this stupid Quran verse. Look at this stupid. I will share this stupid Quran verse with you, so you guys could see the author of the Quran is nothing but a donkey. The person who who wrote the Quran. Let me show you this crazy Quranic verse. I'm searching for it. I think I might have it elsewhere. But this verse will make you laugh until you're weak. Because we see what the brother is saying. Read what the brother said there. He says Muhammad was skilled in Ethiopic language. You know, and look at this Quranic verse. Let me see. I can't find it. I have it, but I don't. Let me see. Okay, let's find it. Okay, let's see that if that will change anything. Okay, let's find it here. Maybe I find it here. But this is very funny. So bear with me. You're gonna laugh about this. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Thank you. You are wonderful to us. Thank you. So here we're going to show you a Quran verse. And you think about this Quran verse. Remember what we are looking at here. And if anybody can see the screen, it's the tradition already noted that the prophet was particularly skilled in the Ethiopic language. But look at this Quran verse. Do you see how stupid this God was? This idiotic invention of a God? Look at this. Now we are looking at Surah 16 verse 103. And I put it stupid verse because most of the verse in the Quran are very stupid. Look at it. And we certainly know that they say it is a human being who teaches him, i.e. the prophet. The language of the one they refer to is foreign. And this recitation, i.e. Quran, is in a clear Arabic language. But do you notice what the brother says? The brother says that Muhammad was versatile in the Ethiopic language. So let's put it back there and we're going to rewind just a little bit so you guys could hear him say it for the people who have difficulty reading it. Muhammad was versatile in the Ethiopic language. But notice the stupidity of the God who wrote the Quran. What kind of God? Must be a drunken God. What's this? Let me show you. So listen to what the brother is going to say here. Because the video is almost finished, my brothers and sisters. So just bear with me. So look here.
So according to Islamic tradition, the two languages that Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, spoke was Arabic and Ethiopic.
So it was Arabic and Ethiopic. But if you read Surah 16 verse 103, it is saying, and certainly, and we certainly know that they say it is only a human being who teaches him, i.e. the prophet. The tongue of the one they refer to is foreign, and this recitation, i.e. Quran, is in a clear Arabic language. But Muhammad speaks more than one language. Do you see how these things are revealing the stupidity of the God of Islam, and that Muhammad was a merchant. Muhammad have Bilal as calling the prayer. What language was Bilal calling the prayer in? Those are things that you get. So Bilal also speak Arabic language. So if Bilal speak Arabic language, I'm sure also Bilal also speak Ethiopic language. So this is just showing you how stupid the person who wrote the Quran was. A very, very stupid mind, or many stupid mind, wrote this Quran to the point where they are writing things like this. Make no sense. Why would God, a wise God, write something like this? Like, the only way a person can know, I don't speak French, but yet still there is so many poetry I read in French. All you got to do is find someone who know how to translate these poems, and you can read and you can learn how great the French poets are. It's just like any other language, African language. There's a lot of African language like Swahili. I don't speak Swahili, but I've read a lot of Swahili poetry that be like, wow, these people can really write poems. But it's the problem we have is the barrier in language. We don't know that there are many great African poets that we don't hear their poetry because they write their poetry in their own language. But anyway, let's continue. This is the stupidity of Islam for you people. The madness of Muhammad. Muhammad.
Very interesting, right? The woman who was with him from his birth until his death was an Ethiopian woman, Amma. There are others.
Do you see that? So the woman is wet nurse. Was a Ethiopian woman, and then Bilal was also Ethiopian. So you see where Muhammad was stealing these idea of Jesus from. The idea of Jesus that he wasn't getting. And when trouble take him, do you notice what he did? Trouble take his people, he sent them right to Abyssinia, to the king in Abyssinia.
Stories, of course, when he listens to Christian men recite the Bible. It is known within that region that the Bible was read in the Ge'ez, and it was then paraphrased into the Arabic. So not an exact translation, but paraphrased into Arabic. So it's therefore they could have gotten drips and drabs out. There definitely was a Ge'ez Bible. And of course, when the army, thousands of men, went across into Arabia from Ethiopia, they would have taken clerics with them. They very likely took Bibles with them.
And this is where you see even the book of John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. This is why only Jesus, Isa, in the Quran is called the Word of Allah and His Spirit. Only Isa is called the Word of Allah and His Spirit. Muhammad was stealing these stories, and he didn't know how to properly put them together because he didn't get them right. He could not put them in together cohesively in the way that they should have been put together. And this is why these clowns running around, oh, the Bible is corrupt, the Bible is corrupt. No, Muhammad stole from the Bible. Muhammad stole from John's gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And this is why in the Quran you have only Jesus, only Isa creating anything. Only Isa creating anything. Nowhere in the Quran you can find anybody creating anything but Isa alone, because Jesus is our creator. Muhammad was a pirate and a thief, and Jesus is our creator. In the Quran actually says, I can't remember which verse of the Quran it is, but I think it's verse 17 of, I can't remember which surah, that actually says, is the one who creates equal to the one who does not create? And we see in Surah 3, I think 40-something, 49, where Isa created a bird. And the Quran is asking, is the one who creates equal to the one who does not create? Let me actually find that so I could show you that I'm sharing true information. Let me show you which verse in the Quran says that. Let me tell you which verse in the Quran says that. Let me find the word. Sometimes it's equal, EQU. Oh. For some reason, I can't find it. Okay, let's see right here. Is the one who TREATES equal Quran QURAN. No, it's verse 17 of let's see. I know it's verse 17 of something. I just can't remember. Oh yes. Surah 16 verse 17. It asks, is the one who can create equal to the one who cannot create anything? Surah 16 verse 17 asks that question. Is the one who create like in Sahih International it says, then is the one who create like one who does not create? Pickthall says, is he then who created as him who created not? This is just showing you subliminal messages that Isa is above Muhammad, because Isa create a bird, Muhammad never create. Even though Muhammad think to put himself above Isa, the subliminal messages from the Quran is telling you that Isa is greater than Muhammad, because it asks the question, is the one who create as him who create not? Or is then he who create like one that create not, creates not? You know, is the one who can create equal to the one who cannot create anything? No. So that's the Islamic dilemma.
To practice their religious services, right? And there's a couple more. For instance, the Kaaba was supposedly repaired by a Christian Ethiopian. So I'll pause here and I will then continue with this.
Okay. So, oh, sorry. Oh, man.
Hello.
So if you look. Oh,
so when I went to seminary.
Sorry. If you look at the symbolism right here, sorry, I made a mistake there. Sorry, guys.
Hello, YouTube. And I will then continue.
So if you look at the symbol here, this is the pagan sign, the pagan moon sign of the of Islam, and you see that on the top of their mosque, the pagan moon sign, and the top of their mosque. So not only that, you will find you also find. Let me share this with you. I think it's here. Here we go. You will find a lot of the pagan signs If anybody know anything, this is all pagan. You could trace this all back to paganism. This here, this sign here, you could trace it all back, and this is the Islamic sign. You could trace it all back. See, Islam symbol of Islam, Islam symbols. Trace it all back to paganism. This sign right here. This sign you could trace right back to paganism. Pagan moon worship, you could trace that all the way back to pagan moon worship. So this is actually when the Muslim asks a question about paganism, it's undercover paganism. So this is we're living in the 21st century, and Satan designed these things to last. So if he designed these things to last, you will not clearly see paganism. You have to search for it. And this is why we are doing this search, and we are finding these pagan symbols and paganism in Islam.
Continue with this afterwards, and hopefully this was interesting, just to end off this section, to give you some more connections now between Arabia, Southern Arabia, and Africa. And I'll see you guys in the next episode very shortly. Thanks.
So do you see how the brother was able? This is episode 2. And next Sunday, if God's willing, I'll show you episode 3, roundabout from about 12:45. We'll start about 12:45. We'll go into part 3, and we'll show you whose birthday it is. It's a belated happy birthday. I don't know whose birthday. Happy birthday to whoever belated birthday it is. God bless that person. I'm sure it's not me. Is it me? I don't know. No, it's not me. I don't know if the person look at the, is it, I don't know. It's not me really. I don't think it's me. My birthday is way from here. But whoever birthday it is, happy birthday to you, and God bless you. And we were able to cover our brother Lloyd, what Lloyd wants us to know, and we were able to see that Muhammad speak other languages, but the Quran, the stupid Quran, indicate as if Muhammad didn't know any other language, but he did. If you look at what's going on, it is impossible that Muhammad have a wet nurse, that he was sent to the wet nurse for so many years. He was with the wet nurse for so many years, and but doesn't speak the language. A child started learning language from very early. You have kids who are speaking when they are like 1 year old. You have kids speaking. Muhammad was with those people for way more than 1 year old. He was there with them maybe possibly 3-4 years, and so he know that language. This is the language he know, and I'm sure that the Ethiopian language was common in among the people in Muhammad's time, because we see that there was a lot of Ethiopian activity going on in the diaspora, because the slaves that came over from Ethiopia, we see that. So, just want to say thanks to the brother, and whoever haven't subscribed to the brother's channel yet, I put the link in, and I will put the link again so that you guys could subscribe to his channel, because it is important that we support each other, because it's we are not as lucky as the Muslims are. Muslims support Muslims activity. And I see my brother Christian Malik is here, and one day me and you gonna discuss some things, my brother Christian, about some things that we were talking about yesterday. Just we share ideas among each other because we are brothers. You say something about what? Agai Sophia. Agai Sophia. Let me see what he says here. My brother, make a show about Agai Sophia. I will look into it and see what that is talking about, and then I will do it. You're right, my brother. I will look into that and see what that's talking about. I've heard that name before, that mentioned before, but I don't know what it's all about. But I could look into that. But there is tomorrow we're going to talk about Kanye West dilemma, and we are going to actually talk about Ice Cube and some other people, just to show you what's going on, and just to show you that the point, it's in Turkey. So it says it's in Turkey. Oh, it's the oldest church. Okay. It's our oldest church that Muslims stole. Yep. I think that's how I heard about it. Yep. That they took over the church. They've been doing a lot of evil to us, man. But and just to show you that they are demon worshippers, because what Christian would want to take over a Muslim mosque? If a Muslim mosque is abandoned, do you think that we want to build our church and a Muslim mosque? No, we would not. Unless the person is demon possessed, they would want to use a Muslim mosque to become the church of God. No, we would not use a Muslim mosque to become the church of God. Unless that preacher, whoever decide to do that, it must be demon possessed or something like that. So, these are things that, I wanted you guys to look into, because it's important that we look into these things. And so next week, Sunday, we'll look at more of the MOONotheism of Islam, and episode 3. And then tomorrow I have at 9:45 in the morning, Eastern time, American Eastern time, we'll be looking at Kanye West dilemma. Not getting too deep into that. We look at Kanye West dilemma. If you look, you will see the advertisement about it. I put up I scheduled the video to start at 9, I think 9:40. And we'll be looking at Ice Cube. Not because I'm into rap music. I'm not into rap music. But when these things, it's so, I see it on CNN. I see it all over. They're talking about him. So I look into it and see what it's all about. And we're going to talk about that, because this is something that affects our people. When I say our people, I mean all people. The Jews, the blacks, the whites, everybody. It affects all of us. And so hit the notification bell, and because it's going to be interesting just to review some things that is happening with Kanye. We know that Kanye, I'm a nurse, and Kanye is diagnosed with bipolar. And when a person is diagnosed with bipolar, there are things that they have inside of them, that they will let out. And sometimes they will let out it in ways that they themselves, because it's a mental disease, and they will talk about things in ways that they don't really want to talk about things, but because if they're in a manic mood, they are impulsive, and they will just say some things. But we are going to show you some things, about the issue and stuff like that. But not only that, we are going to talk about some crazy verses in the Quran, some crazy verses in the Quran. So you say Ice Cube is a Muslim who openly admits to having multiple wives. Is disgusting. Ice Cube married to multiple wives. Ice Cube, I will talk about Ice Cube tomorrow. just to show you the dilemma. Like, people are not being real. People are not being real, man. People are not being real, and we need to be real. And this is why a lot of times, young people take rap artists and reggae artists as their role model, and listen to them, and not knowing that a lot of these people are wolves. They are wolves, and they will kick you when you're down. And we show you some things we're going to cover. But the most interesting part of it, of tomorrow's video at 9:40 in the morning, is going to be about the Quran. I'm going to show you some things from the Quran. Maybe some people already know these, if you read the Quran and notice these things, but maybe there are people who never pay attention to this. But it is showing you that this Quran is not from God. These verses that we are going to show, we're going to actually show how the verses correspond with the hadith, just to show you that this came straight from a man and not from God Almighty. And even the verse that I show you in this video, remember I show you that verse in this video, you could tell that this didn't come from a very intelligent source. Not an intelligent source at all. It came from an inferior source, a source that believed that it can trick the mind of a people if you don't think for yourself. Because we could see that Muhammad speak more than one language, but the Quran is saying that just listen to the Quran verse, it's just crazy. But the Quran is actually saying, let me read the verse because it's so stupid that you have to read the verse itself. And we certainly know that they say it is only a human being who teaches him. The tongue of the one, the language of the one they refer to is foreign. And this recitation, which is the Quran, is in a clear Arabic language. But Muhammad speaks more than one language. So it doesn't make sense. The people tell us that Muhammad could never read. That's a lie. That's another video that I need to work on and show you that Muhammad could read. And the word, the Arabic word ummi doesn't mean you cannot read, that you cannot read. In many cases, it doesn't mean that you cannot read. It actually means that you are unlearned, like untaught. You're ignorant in a sense. You're ignorant of something, but that doesn't mean that you cannot read. Like me, I am ignorant of what? Fixing an aeroplane. I can't fix an aeroplane, but that doesn't mean that I can't read how it is fixed. What is going on if something is wrong with the aeroplane. I may not be able to fix it, but I could, if somebody write what is going on, I could read it, even though I'm not the best reader out here. Everybody should know this by now. Anyway, my people, God bless you, man. God bless you all. And all praises to the triune God, the God who is above all gods, the God who gives us wisdom to decipher things, and to make sense of sensible things, and to make nonsense of things that are nonsense. And as I always say, Islam is nothing but pure nonsense. And I want you guys to remember, man, that Jesus is our focus. And even though we have fun here, Jesus is our focus. So my brother gave a Quran verse here. Let me see what this Quran verse says. 27, 19 to 19. Surah 27, verse 19. 19 to what? My brother. Oh, 18 to 19. Thank you. Let's see what it says. Let's see what it says. I might have seen that before too, because I read the Quran. Okay, let's see what it says. Oh. Let's see. until when they came to the valley of the ants. I should have known, man, because I read this several times. Oh, man. Until when they came to the valley of the ant, and ant said, "O ants, enter into your dwelling, that you not be crushed by Solomon." The ants even know Solomon's name. So the ants must speak the language of the people. In order to know Solomon's name, did Solomon speak to the ants and say, "My name is Solomon"? And his soldiers, while they perceive not. So look at this. Solomon know the language of the ants, but Solomon would just ride over the ants. Can you imagine? You're conscious and to the language of an animal, and you would still ride over them. If I can hear an ant speak when I'm walking, it would take me forever to get to the grocery store, which is just down the street, the gas station, which is just down the street. It would take me forever to get there because I'll be looking to see if I step in on an ant. Can you imagine you walking around hearing the language of an ant, and you could hear the ant screaming when you're stepping on them? Mohammed religion was such a dopey. In Jamaica, they say a dopey, meaning a dead religion, man. So Solomon smiled. Look, Solomon could hear the ant speaking. So Solomon smiled, amused at her speech. Solomon is riding a horse, and the horse going, pakata, pakata, pakata. Listen. And many horses. So it's Solomon have one of the biggest army according to the Quran, with devils and birds and flying, and the birds' wing going whoop 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 whoop. And still Solomon could hear the little ant speaking and smile at her. What a religion, my friend. So look at this stupidity. Let me show you. Oh, you even put the answer there. I should have known, my friend. Oh, look at this stupid Quran verse. Look at this. Since my brother showed this, let's talk about this. Sai International, man. 27:18, 27:19. This is the part that is so funny. So the ant says, until when. So the Quran is saying, until when they came to the valley of the ants. So ants is not everywhere. It's just one valley that's full of ants. In the whole area, the ants is not everywhere. Because when you look in Jamaica and places like that, tropical regions and stuff like that, ants is everywhere. Not just one valley where there's more ants than the But listen what it says. And when they came to the valley of the ants, an ant said, one ant, look at it. One ant says, "O ants, enter into your dwelling, that you not be crushed by Solomon and his soldiers while they perceive not." So look at it. Said, while they perceive that. So Solomon smiled, amused at her speech. Wow. I wonder what she sound like. If she sound, and she is a she ant. So Solomon even know is a she ant speaking. And guess what? Ants don't even speak. They communicate with vibration. And heard her speech and amused at her speech and said, "My Lord, enable me to be able to be grateful for your favor, which you have bestowed upon me and upon my parents, and to do righteous, for which you approve, and admit me by your mercy into the ranks of your righteous servants." Wow. So Solomon must be on his horse every day, or whatever he does, and he riding. And he looking out for the ants, as small as they are, looking like, you know. his arse must have, his arse must have that vision too, like a binocular vision that he can see the arse, or a microscopic in a sense vision, so he can see the ants all the way from where his head is at the speed that he's traveling. A stupid book, man. And then you have people reading this book. The other day I heard a Muslim say, a donkey talking, and I look at it and I say, wow, yeah, I could see a donkey talking because there's a danger awaits a man, and God caused the donkey to talk because there's a danger in front of the man. But what is the reason for this story of an ant speaking? What is the purpose of an ant speaking in a valley? It's lucky if Muhammad didn't die, man. You would have heard that the ants become Muslims. Oh man, I don't know. If Muhammad was not mad, and nobody else was mad. Oh friend. Oh man. Run out of the way before Solomon and his soldiers crush you to death. And Solomon smiled, amused at her. Amused at her speech. Wow. At her speech. A female ant, man. a female ant in a veil. What a beautiful, beautiful religion. Anyway, my people, there are also hadith where it is haram for a Muslim to kill an ant. Oh wow, I need to look for that one, because the ant can speak. I don't know about Muhammad, but Yo, Solomon, what you mean by Lord? That's an ant, not your Lord. This Solomon called the ant the Lord. I maybe I passed that part. But let me see what Allah said. So Solomon smiled, amused at her speech, and said, "My Lord, enable me, my Lord." Why they put a comma there? I don't know. Enables me to be grateful. Oh, he actually called the ants my Lord. He literally, according to this, he called the ants my Lord because there's a comma behind my Lord. My Lord, enable me to be grateful to your favor, which you have bestowed upon me and upon my parents, and to do righteousness. I don't even know what this is talking. So the ants bestowed upon him all this stuff. He's talking about his God. My God, I don't think the comma is supposed to be there. I think that's an error. The translator put an error there. My Lord, enable me to be grateful for your favor. For whose favor? The ants' favor? Who is he talking to? I said to his God, my Lord, enable me to be grateful for your favor, which you had bestowed upon me. Oh, so no, after he heard the ants, he said to his God, my Lord, enable me to be... Okay, now I kind of understand it. I understand it. After he heard the ant's speech, he said to his God, the fake God that have him speaking to. But you know what I learned from this is Muhammad was literally mocking the prophets. That's what he was doing. You know, that's what I gather from the things that Muhammad wrote about Moses, about Noah, about who else? Solomon, All these people, he actually was mocking. He actually was mocking them. The devil in him, as remember what he says, he have a devil commanding him, and that devil was giving him these commandments to mock. To mock the prophets. Remember in Sahih Muslim 28:14, he said he have a devil with him that was commanding him for good. And I do believe that he was mocking the devil have him mocking the real prophets, because this is so stupid that Solomon riding on a horse coming through the valley. Whether you walk in the horse or you ride in the horse. You walk in the horse or you gallop in the horse. With all the birds, the birds and the devils and the soldiers that you have, you are gonna hear a hand speaking. After your horse is going, every horse is going, and that's a whole lot of noise, a whole lot of clatter of feet. If that's the word, clatter, I think clatter. Patter of feet, clatter of feet, whatever. You could hear a hand speak to all that. You maybe couldn't hear a man speak, much less a hand speak. And hands don't even speak. And he said, his Lord teach him the language of the hands. See, like, I think there is another verse that says he learned the language of the ants, man. What a beautiful Quran. And he learned the language of the ants. I want to learn the language of the ants like Solomon, but I need to go to school to learn the language of the ants. Because it's not easy learning the language of the ants. You have to go to school to learn the language of the ants. It's not easy like Sunday morning. Man, it's not easy learning the language of the ants, man. You got to go to, let me tell you, top class university like Yale and Harvard University. You can't go to a regular university like Indiana State University. You can't go to that kind of. You have to go to Yale to learn to learn the language of the ant. Next year I'm gonna sign up. It's almost a new year. I'm gonna sign up to learn. Suppose, can you imagine? You call Yale University and said, you know, even though you have special, you got to be special to get into Yale. In a sense, but can you imagine calling Yale and said, I would like to sign up for the language of the ants, to learn the language of the ants. They would look at you like, what? They would be telling about you like, yesterday a boy called, or a man, I don't know who he is, called and said he would like to learn the language of the ants. Oh, listen to this. Verse 16, and Solomon succeeded David and said, O my people have been taught the speech of the birds, and we have been endowed with all kinds of things. Surely this is a conspicuous favor. Verse 17, hosts of jinns and human and birds were marshaled for Solomon and was kept under full control. So all these hosts of jinns were marching, and Solomon was once on the move with them. Look at this. In another translation, it says, and Solomon was once on the move with them until when they reached a valley of ants. So all the birds with the flapping of wings, man, all these wings flapping, but Solomon could hear the ants. Run before Solomon run over you. Oh man, what a beautiful, beautiful religion. What a beautiful religion, man. Anyway, man, God bless you all, man, and keep safe out here. What a religion. Anyway, man, I said all praises to the triune God, the God who is above all gods, the God who give us wisdom, wisdom to decipher things and to make sense of sensible things and to make nonsense of things that are nonsense. And as we all see, Islam is nothing but pure nonsense.